Hello everyone, welcome to Advanced Knowledge Systems and a warm welcome to AKS IAS Academy, which is one of the premier institutions in India, and it offers examination coaching for UPSC, CSC, State Public Service Commission, SIC Combined Graduate Level and CLAT examination. And about me, I am Sandeep Bhushan Tumala and I have 10 years of teaching experience for civil services. I take up international relations and internal security and the analysis of the Hindu newspaper. And this session is in regards to the DNA of the Hindu newspaper, that is of today's 25th of January 2021. And throughout my session, I would be emphasizing on the keywords and the key phrases from the Hindu newspaper, wherein we will identify the factual, analytical, and conceptual questions which will be useful for UPSC prelims. And while you imbibe the keywords and the key phrases in your answer writing, that is for the mains examination, your answers for the mains would be precise and concise, and you would score higher marks in the mains examination. So therefore, the session or the AKS IAS Academy daily news analysis will help you to crack the prelims and mains of both 2021. And before we get into the DNA of the newspaper, we would focus at the quote of the day. And the quote of the day says that success occurs when your dreams get bigger than your excuses. So make sure that your dreams are bigger than your excuses. Only then success occurs, when your dreams get bigger than your excuses. And now we'll get into the analysis of the Hindu newspaper, and the news which we would be focusing is that the Chinese have started trespassing into the Indian side, and they are doing that by using the Indian roads. So this is the crucial information wherein China is getting into or has trespassed all the other side of the LAC using the Indian roads. And at the same time, India and China have started the ninth round of Corps Commander level talks on January 2021, and this is going on, or this ninth round of Corps Commander level talks would be addressing a 9 month long standoff between the India and China along the LAC in the eastern Ladakh. And while this is going on, that is when the ninth round of Corps Commander level talks are scheduled, there is another crucial information which has come up, that the head of the border villages, especially the head of the border village, that is Urgen Sewang, the village head of the Koyal or the Kakjang of the Demchuk sector, has said that he has seen, or they have seen, the Chinese vehicles, and these Chinese vehicles were using the Indian roads to enter into the Indian territory. So this is the biggest information what the village head of the Koyal, that is Kakjung of the Demchung sector, has provided or said to the Hindu, saying that the Chinese vehicles were using the Indian roads to enter into the Indian territory. And it is on December 16, 2020, wherein it is the two Chinese vehicles have been seeing that they are being turned away by the group of locals once they have identified, and they have turned the vehicles, Chinese vehicles, away by the locals and the security personnel. But the crucial information is that the Chinese vehicles are using or getting into the Indian territories, or trespassing into the Indian territories along the LAC in the eastern Ladakh by the Indian roads, or using the Indian roads to enter into the Indian territory. And when we look at the Demchuk sector, here the village head, when we are talking about the Chinese vehicles which was seen in the Demchuk sector, that is in the Koyal village. So here I am showing it with the map, where is Koyal among the Demchuk sector. So this is the LAC which we can see it. So it is in the Demchuk sector, which is almost south of Pyongyang, and south of Galwan Valley we have the Pyongyang So Lake, and south of the Pyongyang we have almost, which is very close to the Uttarakhand, is the Demchuk sector, which is bordering even Tibet, is the Demchuk sector. And this is the village wherein the village headman or villagers have seen the Chinese vehicle entering into or trespassing into the Indian side and using the Indian roads to enter into the Indian territory is Koyal village, or it is also called as Kokjong village. So this is as per the geography map based, also have focused where is Demchuk, and again within the Demchuk sector Koyal village, wherein we have the India and China are sharing 3488 kilometer long border, which we do not have a fencing or a permanent border between India and China, right from the Aksai Chin to the Arunachal Pradesh. And the villagers also have said that they have the another video which has been dated on December 10, 2020, that few Chinese civilians have been seen in the Koyal village, which they were taking photograph, and they have also been seen with the vehicles parked nearby. And the village head said that the nomads or the villagers, when they went to the winter grazing, they have seen that Chinese were asking the villagers or the nomads to vacate the area. So it is the Chinese people using the Chinese area or Chinese civilians using the Indian roads to enter into the Indian territory and asking the nomads who were been to the winter grazing in the area which is along the Indian side in the LAC, but the Chinese people were asking the nomads to vacate the area, and Chinese were also trying to assert themselves to get very close to the patrolling point 38. And the Chinese were also using the roads which were built by India to encroach into our territory, is the statement made by the village head of the Koyal village. And Indian troops have been denied access by the Chinese soldiers at the patrolling points. We have various patrolling points which the Indian troops have been denied by the Chinese soldiers, right from the Depsang Plains in the north to the Pyeonggong So Lake in the south. So I will show you where is the Depsang Plains in the north, and then again Pyeonggong So Lake in the south. So there is certainly the Chinese troops are denying the access of the Indian troops to have the patrolling at the patrolling points right from Depsang Plains in the north to the Pyeonggong So Lake in the south. And in total there are 65 patrolling points right from the base of Karakoram to Chumur in the south. That is, this is the Karakoram. You have the pass, so Karakoram ranges. So the base is the Karakoram range. From Karakoram to Chumur in the south, you have total 65 patrolling points which are patrolled by the Indian troops. And the patrolling points, when we look at what is patrolling points, the patrolling points are the end points along the undefined LAC. So you have the line of actual control, but as I said that this around close to 3488 kilometers border between India and China, but most of them is an undefined LAC. And along the undefined LAC, right from the Karakoram to Chumur in the south, you have 65 patrolling points, and these patrolling points are the end points along the undefined LAC, to which the Indian troops can patrol right from the base camp of Karakoram. So the base camp is Karakoram, which is in the north, to the south, that is Chumur or Demchuk. And we know that right from April 2020, Chinese soldiers have ingressed or trespassed, or they have also infiltrated into the Indian side along the LAC, that is for 8 kilometers in the finger area of Pyeonggong So Lake. And while ingressing or trespassing into the Indian side along the LAC in the Pyeonggong So Lake area, the Chinese are not allowing the Indian troops to patrol beyond finger 4. So you have finger 1 to finger 4 or finger 8 in the Pyeonggong So Lake. So here Indian troops can only patrol because of the ingress or trespasses of the Chinese troops into the Pyeonggong So Lake. Indian troops are able to have patrol only to finger 4, but earlier Indian troops would patrol till finger 8. And in turn, the areas which have been built up by Indian troops, but definitely the Chinese troops are not allowing the Indians to patrol even or causing inconvenience even in the Depsang Plains, Galwan Valley, Gogra Hot Spring areas and the south bank of Pangong Tso Lake. So right from April 2020, by the Chinese incursion into the LAC along the Indian side in the eastern Ladakh has been creating problems to the Indian troops not to patrol beyond the Finger Four in the Pangong Tso Lake, and not only in the Pangong Tso Lake, south of Pangong Tso Lake, but they are causing inconvenience for the Indian troops to patrol even in the Depsang Plains, Galwan Valley, Gogra Hot Spring areas and in the Pangong Tso. So there are the patrolling points which are being certainly stopped by the Chinese troops to the Indian troops for patrolling. So we have 65 patrolling points which are part of the conflict zones. And if you look at here, this is the Depsang Plain and you have the Karakoram range here, Karakoram Pass. This is a base camp from north. If you look to the south, that is Chumar. So from here, from north to south, from the Karakoram base camp till the Chumar sector of the south of the LAC in the eastern Ladakh, you have 65 patrolling points. And the south of Depsang Plain is the Galwan Valley, and the south of Galwan Valley is the Hot Spring, and south of Hot Spring or Gogra Hot Spring area is the Pangong Tso Lake, and south you have the Demchuk here sector, and south of Demchuk sector you have the Chumur. And in turn, while we are talking about the Finger Four in the south, Pangong Tso Lake, so this is the Pangong Tso Lake wherein Indian troops had the patrolling points from Finger 1 to Finger 8 till here. But once the ingression of the China troops into the south bank Pangong Tso Lake 8 kilometers along the LAC into the Indian side, so now the Chinese are controlling from Finger 8 to Finger 2, wherein Indian troops who used to have the control from Finger 1 to Finger 4 and patrol from Finger 1 to Finger 8, but now they are stopped at Finger 4 because of the ingression by the Chinese troops into the Indian side of 8 kilometers. So these are the conflict zone which has certainly been between India and China along the LAC in the eastern Ladakh right from April 2020, and now on the sidelines of all this, the 9th round of Corps commander level talks are going on, but still we can see the village head of the Koyal village, headman of the Koyal village has brought to the notice or brought to the limelight the Chinese vehicles and the Chinese using the Indian roads to enter into the Indian territory. So this is as per the geography map base have shown you how the Chinese troops or Chinese vehicles are entering into the Indian side. And now we will look at the another news which is about the remote voting project. So this is a keyword that is we will be focusing about the remote voting project. So the Chief Election Commission Sunil Arora has spoken about the mock trials of the remote voting project. And he has said this on January 24, 2020 that the trials of the remote voting project would be carried out. And while he was saying this, he has addressed to the television and the radio on the eve of the National Voters Day. So for prelims perspective, the keyword is the National Voters Day is on January 25th every year. And the Chief Election Commissioner Sunil Arora has highlighted while addressing to the television and radio to the nation on the eve of the National Voters Day, highlighted the vision of the Election Commission going forward in bringing in the remote voting project which would be carried out very soon. And he has also made it very clear that this remote voting project would be a significant change that the nation is looking forward for the grant of postal ballot facility to the overseas electors. So this is the key phrase which we need to focus, that what is the project, that is remote voting project, which the election commission or the chief election commissioner is highlighting the significant change in regards to the grant of postal ballot facility. So we are talking about a new facility by the election commission that is called as a postal ballot facility. To whom? To overseas electors. So this is the emphasis made by the Chief Election Commission while addressing to the nation on the National Voters Day, which is on January 25th. And he says that this system is developed, that is the remote voting project system is developed by IIT Madras, and they have used the blockchain for two-way remote voting. So what is used by the IIT Madras in regards to the remote voting project is the blockchain for two-way remote voting. So this is a key phrase. And the Chief Election Commission Sunil Arora has also said that there is a proposal under consideration by even the Union Law Ministry. So the Chief Election Commission or CEC is also now talking about the Union Law Ministry. So there is a proposal that even the Union Law Ministry would also consider the proposal of the Chief Election Commission of remote voting project, which the trials would be come up in very soon. And the Chief Election Commission has also spoken about the another development on the National Voters Day on January 25th, that the electors now will be able to download the electronic version of the elector photo ID card or e-Epic right from January 25th, 2021. And the Election Commission is launching it on the National Voters Day celebration. And the e-Epic card, that is the elector voter photo ID card, which can be downloaded by the electronic versions, would be a non-editable or non-editable PDF file version, and they can be downloaded by phone or they can be stored on the DigiLocker app. So here the keyword is the app which is downloaded or stored is called as a DigiLocker app, and they can be still printed from any computer. So here the concept is what we are looking at is the mock trials of the remote voting project. So what is the project? The Chief Election Commissioner Sunil Arora, he is highlighting the vision of the Election Commission is the remote voting project, that is the granting of postal ballot facility to the overseas electors is the analysis what we are talking. And for prelims perspective, 25th January is the National Voters Day, and it is also the foundation day of Election Commissioner or Election Commission of India. And there is another news in regards to the Bhima Koregaon activist. So these Bhima Koregaon activists who have been put in jail or they are behind bars or prison, the United Nations rights body has called for the release of Bhima Koregaon activities. That is, the human rights body of the United Nations have urged the Indian government to release the activists who are put in prison for the 2018 Bhima Koregaon case. So here look at it. The case is of 2018, but we are discussing this news in the year 2021 because it is in the news of today, that is on January 25th, 2021, and the incident has taken place on 2018 January 1st. So we would be discussing this in detail, but what the human rights body of the United Nations is urging the Indian government is to release the activists who are in prison, that is like Varavara Rao and Stan Swamy, who are still in the custody even while the case is being investigated. This is what the human rights body of the United Nations is urging the Indian government to release the activists, because the case is still being investigated, but these activists who were present in the Bhima Koregaon case of 2018 are still in the prison while the case is being investigated. It is not totally confirmed, and the human rights body of the United Nations are also concerned about the situations of activists who have been detained in India, and they are also worried about the activists who have been also put behind the prison or in the prison in the context of the Bhima Koregaon incident also. And the Bhima Koregaon incident, when we talk about it, is again, this is in regards to the history perspective we are talking about, that it dates back to January 1st, 2018. This we are talking about the case. Case is dating back to the January 1st, 2018, because on that day, that is on January 1st, 2018, is or was marked as the 200th anniversary of the Bhima Koregaon battle. So here the key phrase is the Bhima Koregaon battle, which has taken place in or on January 1st, 1818, and January 1st, 2018 marked the 200th anniversary of the Bhima Koregaon battle, and the event was organized on January 1st, 2018 to celebrate the victory of the British Army, wherein part of the British Army was Mahar community, and that is the Britishers along with the Mahar community have fought against the Peshwa Bajirao II army, and they have won over the Peshwa Bajirao II army, and that victory was celebrated, or that was organized on January 1st, 2018. And while they were celebrating the victory of the British army, which included the large number of Mahars, on January 1st, 2018, then the human rights activities including Sudha Bharadwaj, Varavara Rao and Gautam Navalkar were arrested during the course of investigation, and they are still in the prison. And this you can see the victory symbol of the January or else the Bhima Koregaon battle, which has taken place on January 1st, 1818. So January 1st, 2018 marked the 200th anniversary, and this is again in regards to the human rights body of the United Nations is urging the Indian government to release the activists who have been put in prison as per the 2018 Bhima Koregaon case, or they are also saying at least let them be out on bail. Please do understand, this is the urge which the human rights body of the United Nations is talking. They be released, or they be released at least on bail. And the office of the High Commissioner of Human Rights have also reiterated and expressed what the Human Rights High Commission for Human Rights Michelle Bachelet has said last year, that is in the year 2020, about the arrest of activists in India in regards to the FCRA, that is Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. So this is again a key phrase which could be crucial for prelims and mains from UPSC perspective. Please do focus in regards to the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. So the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights Michelle Bachelet in the year 2020 has also spoken about the or raised concerns about the arrest of activists, not only in regards to the Bhima Koregaon but also in regards to the arrest about the FCRA, that is Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. But the Ministry of External Affairs has responded to the concerns made by the United Nations Commissioner for Human Rights Michelle Bachelet, saying that the framing of laws is obviously a sovereign prerogative. So the Ministry of External Affairs has made it very clear that what the framing of laws in the country, that is in India, is as per the sovereign prerogative. And he has also made it very clear, Jaishankar, that is Ministry of External Affairs, that violation of law, however, cannot be condoned, that is excused under the pretext of human rights. So a strong message or reply has been responded by the Ministry of External Affairs to the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights Michelle Bachelet in regards to the arrest of activists. So here we did talk about Bhima Koregaon battle, and we have also discussed about the human rights body of the United Nations and the arrest of the activist, and the from history perspective, January 1st, 2018 was the 200th anniversary of Bhima Koregaon battle. And we have also spoken about the response by the Indian External Affairs Minister Jaishankar to the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Michelle Bachelet in regards to the arrest of activists. And now we will be focusing in regards to the Sundarbans. So here a publication has been by the Zoological Survey of India, which states that the Indian Sundarbans, which is part of the largest mangrove forest in the world, is a home to 428 species of the world. So here a publication by the Zoological Survey of India says that the Indian Sundarbans is the largest mangrove forest in the world and it is a home to 428 species. And this publication's aim is to kindle interest and spread knowledge about the birds among the people of various walks of life, from the forest staff to the terrorist or even to the amateur bird watchers. So the aim of the publication is to kindle interest and spread awareness or knowledge among or about the birds. And this publication has been compiled by three scientists, that is Kailash Chandra, who is the director of Zoological Survey of India, Gopinathan Maheshwaran, who is the head of the bird section of Zoological Survey of India, and Amutav Majumdar. So these are the three scientists who have compiled the publication which talks about the Indian Sundarbans, which is the largest mangrove forest in the world and it is the home for the 428 species of birds. And the scientists say that out of the 428 birds which have been listed in the publication, the masked finfoot and buffy fish owl are recorded only from the Sundarbans. So the most interesting part of the birds are the masked finfoot and buffy fish owl are recorded or present or found, or they can be seen only in the Indian Sundarbans. And the Indian Sundarban is a home to 9 out of 12 species of kingfishers which are found across the country. So out of the 12 species of kingfishers which are found across the country in India, 9 are residing or they are home from the Sundarbans. And the rare species such as Goliath heron and spoon-billed sandpipers are also the home of or home from the Indian Sundarbans. So here the masked finfoot and buffy fish owl, and in regards to the kingfishers, and then Goliath heron and spoon-billed sandpipers are the home of or from the Sundarbans. And the scientists and natural lovers are observing this 125th birth anniversary of whom? So it is of the birth anniversary of Salim Ali, who is the Birdman of India. And this is crucial information for prelims UPSC perspective, because we are talking about the ecology and environment. We are discussing this or analyzing this as part of the ecology and environment in regards to the Indian Sundarbans, which is the one of the largest mangrove forest in the world, which is home to the 428 species, and amongst that masked finfoot, buffy fish owl, and the kingfishers and Goliath heron and spoon-billed sandpipers are found in the Indian Sundarbans. And the 125th birth anniversary year of Salim Ali, who is the Birdman of India. So you can see the portrait of the great Salim Ali, who was born on 12th November 1896 and passed away on 20th June 1987. He is called as the Birdman of India. This information is prelims perspective. And Indian Sundarbans, again from prelim perspective, Indian Sundarbans covers 4,200 square kilometers, and these 4,200 square kilometers include Sundarban Tiger Reserves, which constitutes or which covers 2,585 kilometers, and the Sundarban Tiger Reserves is home to the 96 Royal Bengal Tigers as per census of 2020. And the Indian Sundarbans is a World Heritage Site and it is also a Ramsar Site. Ramsar Site is the wetland site which is designated to be international importance. So here the keyword is we are talking about this Sundarban Bengal Tiger Reserves and the World Heritage Site and Ramsar Site, which is the Indian Sundarbans. And Sundarbans are most diverse of natural landscapes and it accounts for 60% of mangrove forest in the country. And we have these mud flats which are very rich in microorganism, which these are deposited, that is mud flaps are deposited during the tidal activity, and these mud flats are the ideal feeding grounds for the migratory birds, and these migratory birds do come and they are feeding on the tidal activity which is rich in microorganism, that is at the mud flaps. And India has over, if you look at 1300 species of bird, and out of 1300 species we have 428 species which are home in the Indian Sundarbans, that is 1 in 3 Indian birds are found in the unique ecosystem of Indian Sundarbans. So we have focused or we have analyzed in regards to the Indian Sundarbans, which is we have looked at as part of ecology and environment, both from prelims as well as mains perspective. And this is in regards to the Sundarban Natural Park, which is on the Indian side, and this is Bangladesh side. So you have various rivers, Shipsa river you have, and then Pasur river in Bangladesh, Kolpetu river. So these are the Indian Sundarbans, and this is the Indian or Sundarban National Park, and the various migratory birds which you can see it or experience in the Indian Sundarbans are all this which we were talking about, the migratory birds which feed. This is the ideal feeding is the mud flats which are rich in microorganism for the migratory birds. So these are all the migratory birds which are dependent on the mud flats. So now we'll focus at the recapitulating of the DNA. So we have looked at this which is in regards to the India-China long face-off or stand-off which is between India and China along the eastern Ladakh. We have looked at this, and this is as per the Chief Election Commission, which is talking about the remote voting project for the overseas voters, and this is in regards to the Bhima Koregaon activist, that is the United Nations body human rights is also are urging the Indian government to release the activists who have been present in regards to the Bhima Koregaon case of 2018, and also spoke about the one who have been arrested activist in regards to the FCRA. So this is in regards to again history and also current affairs we have focused, and Sundarbans, this is in regards to the ecology and environment we have focused this. So I hope this session was informative, knowledgeable, and also we have concluded, analyzed it from macro and micro level, that is mains and prelims perspective. So I would say a very big thank you and a good luck to you all, and then do maintain consistency, stick to your schedule, and take care of your physical health and mental health. And then do not forget to like the video, share the video of AKS IAS Academy English Medium YouTube channel, and also have access to the website and the Telegram link of AKS, that is Advanced Knowledge System. And then see you again tomorrow with the DNA at AKS IAS Academy. And then thank you very much. See you. Goodbye.